the Great New York State Fair. I look forward to this day every single year. This is on par with the Super Bowl or Christmas for me in terms of excitement. For a food guy, this is basically heaven. And it's been deep fried and served on a stick. We haven't been able to visit since 2019 due to the border closures, and just walking up to the gates that first day and wandering the concourse felt absolutely amazing. We were there right at opening. People were just starting to file in, the rides hadn't been started up yet, the fryers were just getting warmed up. I took this time to eyeball where I was going to start my day. One of the really great new features this year is the $2 menu that a lot of vendors are holding, offering affordable fare for people on a budget. This slush, for example, filled with a ton of different flavors, was the first of many that we got for my son that day, and my wife decided that this $2 mini cone was going to be her breakfast. Hey, it's fair food day, nobody's judging. I was thinking a little bigger for my first stop, and when I came across it, I just knew. Fried Specialties has been one of my favorite stops for years, and they had a couple of new creations that I wanted to try this year. Of course, having to pace myself, I decided to start with the least intimidating of the two options, which was the smoreo. The smoreo is a couple of deep-fried Oreos stuffed with s'mores and served with graham cracker crumbs on the side. I did my best here to give a live review, but as the sound picked up as more and more fairgoers were coming in throughout the day, as well as the live music being played, this wound up being the only live attempt I was able to make. Of course, cheers.
I mean, it's an Oreo. How can you go wrong with an Oreo? Got some of that graham cracker, some of that. It's what you expect. It's a deep fried plate of just luxurious, sugary goodness. It's going to take its toll on me over the course of the day with the heat, but sometimes it doesn't matter.
The day itself was sweltering, coming in at about 94 degrees with a lot of humidity. That's 34 degrees and change in Canadian. We ducked into this animal booth quickly to check out some of the cute and cuddlies and get away from the sun for a few minutes. Hey, and while we take a moment to check out all these adorable animals, if you're enjoying the tour of the fair, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Costs you absolutely nothing, helps me out a ton. I review a lot of food here, so stick around. I'm happy to have you with us. Now, in order to build up some additional appetite, we wandered into the Midway area, and my son tried out some of the rides and blew about $10 on claw machines where he didn't wind up winning a single thing. I don't normally spend much time in the Midway personally. The rides aren't anything special, but I'm not going to deny a 5-year-old with some newfound courage his excitement for the day. Next up was the Dairy Barn, where lots of New York State dairy products are sold. Ice cream, cheese, and even cold glasses of milk, still the same 25 cents that it's always been. To speed things along, they have you get tokens directly from this machine, which you then trade for either regular or chocolate milk. My son chose chocolate and seemed very pleased with his decision. The dairy area also has the butter sculptures, which are always fun. This year's theme was the 50-year anniversary of the passing of Title IX, which bans discrimination in sports on the basis of sex. Looking good, ladies, even if you're a little bit jaundiced. At this point, lunch was calling, and thankfully the Tiki Turtle was right outside the Dairy Barn. Tiki Turtle is another of my favorite stops, and even though I knew in my heart of hearts that I wanted the pig and potato parfait, that pickle sandwich being advertised almost changed my mind. Thankfully, my wife decided that's what she wanted, so I was able to sample both things. The parfait is great. It's super stringy pulled pork, just doused in a sweet tomato and vinegar barbecue sauce, piled around mashed potatoes with a cherry tomato and a pretzel stick on top. The presentation is absolutely beautiful, and it's a nice hearty meal to help keep you moving. This pickle sandwich, on the other hand, is downright brilliant. Usually pickles that big aren't great, but this was super crunchy, and it had absorbed the pickle brine really well, having undergone that full transformation from cucumber to pickle. She got hers with just turkey and mustard, and while it might not be as wacky as a lot of fair foods, it certainly was delicious. With happy bellies in place, we headed over to see the hucksters, hawking all sorts of useless wares. Now for me, the big draw in this area is the Sandcastle, which was also doing the Title IX theme. It hadn't quite been finished the day that we were there, but the marquee singing acts that day were Chubby Checker and Boys to Men, so maybe they planned to finish a song for Mama and then go finish the sandcastle on her behalf. Now, I turned my back for just a second, and one of the hucksters took advantage of my wife, who grabbed these strawberry and cream flavored pralines. And to be honest, I can't even complain. They were awesome. They tasted like shortcake. The second we headed back outside, we knew the heat was going to be calling this a day for us much earlier than we would have ideally liked, but my poor son was really reddening, even through the safety of his covered wagon. So we made it a point to try a few more things before calling it a year. The first thing to grab my attention was the Krunchy Dog from Fair Deli. Basically, this is their take on a Korean corn dog. It's a couple of wieners with a giant slab of mozzarella in the middle, breaded and deep fried and then rolled in flaming hot Cheeto dust. I was a bit surprised to discover that there was sugar on this as well. Honestly, I could have done without the sugar. It wasn't a necessary addition. I think in the case of a savory food, the heat of the Cheetos dust alone would have been fantastic. Now, you'll notice I was a bit surprised I got no cheese in that first bite, but it turns out you had to dig deep into the wiener to find that surprise. Eventually I did though, and it was one of the crunchiest and saltiest cheese sticks that I've ever had. And in this case, that's totally a compliment. Next up, we opted to grab one of these handcrafted donuts, and that was a great decision. They were as light as air, just super fluffy, and they melted in your mouth. The glaze was a rich vanilla, easily one of the finest donuts I've ever had. Krispy Kreme, eat your heart out. I knew I wanted one more treat before the day was done, but I knew it was going to take a little while to be made fresh, so I grabbed a $2 deep-fried peanut butter and jelly sandwich for my son. This might actually be the deal of the day at the fair, because while it's not enormous, it's a sweet treat that appeals directly to young kids. My son absolutely loved it, and it held him over until supper time. What I was after, though, was the Flamin' Code Peach. It's a deep-fried peach cobbler stuffed with fresh jalapenos and bacon, topped off with whipped cream, caramel, bacon bits, and a full slice of peach-glazed bacon. It's fried. It's unreasonably healthy. It's a ridiculous creation. It's literally what state fairs are all about. This hit the spot so unbelievably well. This was easily my favorite thing that I ate all day. It just tickled every one of my senses. It had the sweetness of those peaches, the richness of the cobbler batter, the spice of the fresh jalapenos, the saltiness and fattiness of the bacon, the coolness of the whipped cream. You know, I tip my hat to the creator of this thing. It really was a perfect end to a perfect day. Honestly, if you've never had the chance to check out a state fair, this should be a must on everybody's bucket list at least one time. We barely scratched the surface, not making it to see the livestock or the local art. You really do need the full day to take everything in. We did see a couple minutes of Chubby Checker, and while I can't include any of it due to the copyright on his music, trust me, he was still doing the twist at age 80. On top of that, there's rides, there's shows, and so much more food that I didn't get a chance to see, and it's all for just $3 admission. Free if you're under 12 years old. It really is hard to beat that deal. I'm going to be back next year, and hopefully I'll see you there too.